Okay, here's a little presentation on what I did last year as a newbie. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. This is the way I did it, and it's probably full of errors, so it's probably the way that you don't want to do it. And if you were a newbie and you come along and you said, I want to make those, I'd say think again. And of course, if you've been in it for a few years, you wouldn't even come up and say, I want to do them. This is my first year. It was my first year at Christmas Lights. I've got a bit of a history of lights. I've done bands and discos, and I'm in amateur theatre. And a bloke in our town where I'm from, there's only about 15,000 people in the town, and one of the new blokes moved in, and he had a law singing faces on his roof and dumb strip and blew everybody away. And I said to my wife, I said, I've got to have that at my house, because previously I had cut out Santas that I'd made when the kids were little. And she said, yep, you can do it. Right, I'm not asking again. And I've always liked singing faces, and I thought, being a newbie, I'll start off simple and I'll just do 4 singing faces in the Megatree. And because the only other house in town, which is about 4 streets across, had the Christmas coro LOR singing trees, I thought I can't have those. And I can't have his songs as well. I hunted around looking for something, and I saw what Logan Carpenter did with his olive over in New Zealand. He's got a singing olive, and another member on the site, Baff05, had a singing tree, and he was silly enough to put up his ideas on the thing, so I pinched it. So if I hunt through this, if the buttons work. Right, so they're made from 5mm coro. I hot glued them together. An interesting thing about hot glue is that it's hot and it sticks to fingers and burns things. And for the front, I just used 3mm coro, which I've used Celastic to put on the front. I thought for ages how I was going to fix the front, because I wanted to be able to pull it off and put it back on and pull it off. Luckily, I decided I'd just put Celastic on it, and then I'll just cut the Celastic, and it worked well and had to pull them apart. It's 50mm high on the sides, and 50mm was the number because I happen to have a bit of 50mm aluminium angle that I used as a straight edge. So the magic number was 50. I used 12-volt 3-pixel module thingies that I brought from Ben Brown. There's 80 in Patrick, which is the star. I've got 76 in the trees and 100 in Bruno. Anybody not know why he's called Patrick? We name things in my house. He's Patrick because he's the star and Starfish and SpongeBob SquarePants. Starfish Patrick. Adults take a while. Every 5-year-old knew why he's called Patrick. And of course Bruno's the reindeer. He's Bruno the brown-nosed reindeer. He's just as fast as Rudolph, but he can't stop as quick. And I got a Pixelite 4 off one output that I used to drive it. Being brand new, I didn't have any LOR or Renard or anything else. I had a clean slate, and I decided that I was going to go with pixels and pixels only. So everything's pixels, so I've got no idea how to do anything else. And I used xLights. So how do I make it? That's Bruno. I pinched the designs off Logan and Baff. I used PowerPoint to design them up, mainly because that's what's on the computers at work. And in the quiet times on the back shifts, I'd sit there and fiddle with it. I just looked for designs on the web, basically, and I found one that suited me. And that's actually a combination of about 3 different designs. And then once I had the design, I just used my projector, stuck the coro to the kitchen wall, projected up to it, and then traced it out. The good way about doing that was I was able to scale the images so that my nodes fitted between the lines where they had to go. A bit of Then having done that, I then glued the outsides to it. And then with the outsides on, I glued the pixels inside it. To get coro to bend, anybody not familiar with working with it, if you just cut one edge through on the coro, you can bend it. So if you score one edge, you stand up the flutes vertically, and then you cut one edge, then you can bend it. And when they bend, the bits, you can bend them externally or internally, and the cut bits will overlap. If you bend it internally, then a bit of hot glue holds them solid. And then I added the internal walls, which I had cutouts in it to account for the pixels. So with Patrick, you can see the outside edges, and I tried very hard to make the pixels even, and I actually got them laid out in the same sort of order. He was the first bloke. He was my proof of concept. Lots of straight lines, very easy to glue. I had trouble because I got really smart and I thought I'd do really big sections. So you put the hot glue bed down, then when you go to stick it on the place where you started, it started to cool. So layout was a bit of a pain, and I tried to get it so that the cable length between the nodes was a problem. I wanted to get it even so that it'd look okay. And with this bloke, I just started here and I just ran my 20 pixels in a string, and then I joined on another 20 and I went again. Which is a bit of a mistake because when it come to programming it, it became a bit difficult, especially with the mouth, because the pixels aren't in any particular order. xLights handled it really well, and when I built that I had no idea how I was going to program it, so it was kind of lucky. When I did this bloke who was next, he was a pain, mainly because he had lots of curved surfaces in him. I got a little bit smarter and I laid out the pixels in order so that the mouth and everything else were actually in groups, made the programming a bit easier. The other thing that I did was that the layout of the mouths and the eyes were all the same. So being all the same, once I got to xLights, it was a simple matter of just copying what I had and taking it from there. I power injected about every 20 pixels where it was easy. There were a few places I had to cut and join, so that looked like somewhere to jam power in, so that's where it got it. I don't know whether I over-injected, which is I probably did, but I didn't want to pull it apart and have to fix it. So I thought it's easier to throw an extra one in than come back later and try and sort it out. And the in-out power that came into each one was just looped. So the power came in, looped in and out, and went as well. The trees, I've got two trees, they're called Bath and Logan. I decided that I'd put a bow in their hair so that I could have a boy tree or a girl tree when I was singing different parts of the songs. And then I decided that wouldn't be good if the bow could animate, so then I made a spinning bow, which is just sections that I switch on and off. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to put 3 eyes in the tree so I could turn one eye on in the middle and make it into a minion. It didn't work, it wouldn't fit. I gave up on that idea. It was about the first tree that I got sick of making them. There's 50 hours in each one. You're sitting down, gluing and holding things while they glue dries. The same design, once again, just something I drew up, fairly simple. And that just looks like a big Dalek stalk on the front of it. About halfway in, I had the tune to notice in the bottom of the mega tree saying tune to whatever it was. And my daughter decided that was a bit nasty and I should have something better. So I threw together this as a tune to sign. I just used 3mm coro on the inside, which, going back to the other ones, if I built them again, I'd probably use 3mm coro inside them and not the 5mm. Creates a few shadows that I don't like. This one I painted black, so I didn't want any light spill coming out of it. And that's just a 7-segment figure 8 display that, once again, I drew up in PowerPoint. It's about A4. Just cut them out and put them on the coro and trace them. It's got 21 modules in it. And that worked really well. xLights handled it. I was able to program the numbers. Once the numbers were programmed, I was able to change the colours to match the display. Just once again thrown together and scraps. That's the 9. Luckily I don't go above 99. Put it on the roof. I use solar panel mounts that I found on eBay for some stupid price. They're $15 to $30 each. Depends where you buy them from. They're stainless steel, designed to do it. I found somewhere in Adelaide actually it was a solar panel shop going out of business and I got it off the liquidator. I got a dozen of them delivered for $60 or something. The delivery was $35, so I was pretty well. You pull a tile up, I don't know if you can see it well enough, and they're just a bracket that sits on the timber underneath, goes over the lip of the tile, and the tile above sits on top of it. And it gives you a bit that sticks up. You see that? It's sticking up there. As soon as you lift any tiles on the roof, the rain comes. I had fun. And I thought, oh, that's easy. I'll lift those tiles, I'll put them there, battery drill out, screw it down, walk away. I broke the first screw. I realised the screws that came with it didn't work, so I'd have to go down and buy some more screws. I was off the roof, on the roof. Once I used the brackets, I went to Bunnings. I got some slotted steel. It's angled, don't know whether you've used it. It's dearer than it should be, but it's really good for doing stuff like this when you're hanging by your toes on the roof and you just want to line two things up with a bolt hole in them without having to drill them. I built all this as it went. It all had to be straight and level and square. I've got a photo of the level sitting on it. And I've just had some supporting beams across there. Put the controller box behind them with the Bunnings 90mm vents. Don't know whether you can see it. Fixed light 4 in there. Power supply bolted to the door and all my connections at the bottom. They're all screwed on. To connect them to the mounting bracket, I used that slotted angle, which I glued to the back of it using 5-minute liquid nails, and it lasted for about 5 weeks. Liquid nails and coro don't like each other, so I'm going to use something different this time. I've been told Celastic's the way to go for coro. That's just what I had in the tube when I was making them. And it was difficult to get them to line up so they all looked even on the roof. Because they're different shapes, I lined their mouths up. So the part of the mouth was all on the same plane. I think I also did the kitchen floor. The mouth design, it's got 6 sections in it. So I've got this top piece here, the centre bit, and then there's the outer bit, and so forth. And they've got the various nodules in each one. If you ever do this, number them all, take a photo. When it comes to programming, it's really, really easy. And this is what I used to program them until I got to the trees and I realised I'd built the trees, had them on the roof and didn't have a photo. So that was kind of hit and miss, but yeah, you get that. So there were a custom module inside xLights. And I started off with Patrick by making him one model, so the whole star was one model. And it worked, but it didn't work really well and become difficult. So what I ended up doing was to break each of them up into separate models. So the mouth became a model, the eyes become a model. Bruno's got 11 models, one for his hat, one for his ears, his left and right antler. Once I had these individual sections, it was really easy to program them. You can group them together and program the lot, or you can individually get hold of them. So that's the pixel map that I drew up. Anybody know about singing faces and how they work? Am I preaching to the choir? Stop me or help me if I make a mistake. There's about 10 mouth positions from what I can gather, and these are the standard shape that your mouth goes in. And they've all got names. There's AL and an O and E and ETC and so forth for the different shapes. So for each one of these shapes being down here, I had to work out which one of the pixels that I wanted to turn on. When you've got a traditional singing face wireframe model, if you want the different mouth shapes to come on, you turn that string on or turn it off for the different strings. With these blokes, you don't turn them off, you change their colour. So with the mouth, if the mouth's open, then you want all of them to be white. But if the mouth's closed, you want all of them to be green, which is the same colour as the outside of the tree shape. So you're actually looking at their closed mouth and closed chin. So you don't turn them on and off, you change their colour. So in xLights, once again, it did this for me. So I had to decide that the rest was just going to be the upper pout, which was 67, 68, 69 and 70. So this part here, there's those 4, 67, 68, 69 and 70, for those ones. Now these are absolute values based upon Patrick, so starting at 1 being his first pixel, they were the numbers for his mouth. In xLights you actually start at 1, so the actual mouth section, the number 1 pixel is the one that you call 1. So I converted those back to 1. I think 67 become 1, 68 become 2 and so forth. To give you an idea, just a matter of working out which ones I had to turn off or turn on, which ones belong to what mouth shape. This is the bit. Normally turn them on. You've got to change the mouth shape, mouth colour. Yeah, we just said that. Off is black. So if you turn the lights off, you get a black, which I use for the eyes and the pupil in the eyes. In xLights, you use 2 layers. So one layer you set to the off colour, and the other layer you set to the face element. And when it's not being turned on, it just goes to the off colour automatically. So that's basically how they work. Now the eyes, this is my little bit of smarts. I thought I was so clever. It's a hack. I tried to get it across to the program as what I was doing, but I think I missed it somewhere in the language. But I might try again. I created a state. I realised for the eyes, there's only something you can have: eyes left, eyes right, eyes up, eyes down, blink, closed, cross-eyed. There's a few different variations. So for each one of those positions for the eyes, I called it a state. So I created a state being eyes left, or a state being eyes right. And then for each one of those states, I assigned it to a phoneme. So the A, the O, the ETC that you saw with the mouth shapes, A was eyes right, E was eyes left, or whatever it was. I've got it written down on a piece of paper in my computer somewhere. So that's what I did. And then I used the face effect inside xLight to output to the lights. So I just dropped the face effects on the light, on the eye model, and said, be phonome E, and they all look left, all look right. So it was like a pre-programmed state. I used the same layout for the eyes that I said, and white and black. You can see there that the 2 girl trees are singing Rudolph because they like Rudolph. Their bows are actually pointing towards Rudolph because they like him. I get the polite version mixed up. This is now, my display was hit by lightning on the 16th of December. For those that don't remember, I made a bit of a song and dance about it. I didn't get any videos. My whole idea was, I was still building it at that stage, putting things together. And I thought, I'll get it all sorted. I'll come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll video it so I can put it up. And it got struck by lightning before I actually got anything. So what I've got is just grabs off phones and stuff. This is about the best one that I've got, if it'll work. So this is interesting. That'll make it go. Nope. Anybody know how to use this in presentation mode? So you can see the mouth's going. They're singing Uptown Funk, so Patrick's hat's on fire because he's so hot. The reindeer's antlers are going in beat with the music. You can see that the mouth, and then they're in the rest position there. Now, if you look hard enough at them, you see the little blank spots, which the camera picks up. The eyes, not so much. They were very bright. There's a bloke in New York who's made another Bruno, and he's used strip inside it instead of using the little nodules, the little things that and I think he's got a better output. I think he showed me a photo. He doesn't have all these little light spots inside it. Yeah, so if I ever make one of these again, I'll probably use the strip instead of the nodules. But I wanted them to be waterproof. One thing about waterproof, when you make waterproof stuff, what it means is that if water gets in, it won't get out. Took them off the roof and I shook them. I thought, all right. Yeah, next time I'll make them less waterproof, but I'll put some holes in them so they let the water out once it gets in. I was also very smart and I realised that the coro would probably get moisture in it and moss and mould and stuff would grow inside it. So I've got some silly zonal gaps and I went all on the outside of it to seal it all up. Put it outside to dry before I painted it, and the sun heated it up, all the air inside the flute expanded, popped the things out. So if you have a look at it, it's got pimples all the way down on the outside of it, and I've left them on just to remind myself how stupid I was to do it in the first place. Yeah. And of course, I have a CAT scan to help with quality control. I have a cat that helps me with everything. You'll be sitting there working on something and the thing's disappearing off the side of the bench and there's a cat pulling that. That's an Australian mist if anybody's interested. It's the only breed of Australian cat. Yeah, that's it for my faces. Any questions, comments, criticisms?
Yeah, the painting of the coro, because that can be difficult to paint.
I used high quality $2 paint from Bunnings and I went, shh, you painted, and that's it. I painted it was just spray paint. $2 a tin. And I only painted them black just to sort of make them look a bit nice. Can't see them in the daytime. And the paint scrapes off if you scrape it too much, so it was cosmetic more than anything. Just very quickly in xLights. Bear with me. So in xLights, I've set them up as models. I don't actually have the shapes because it wasn't necessary to display them on the screen. The actual lines underneath them are the 70 nodes that make up the face. So I just called them a string. In fact, they weren't in a line. I'm not going to use them in any effects or anything like that. So for the mouth, say for Patrick, that's how xLights handles. You just go in there and you set up a little grid, much like a spreadsheet. And you put all your node numbers in. You see they start at 1 and 2 and 3 and so forth. Just put them in the locations, the custom model. And then down here under the Faces tab, this is where I set up. So when you come into it, you give it a name. This is Patrick's mouth, who's white, and that's Patrick's mouth, who's yellow, for example. I tried the yellow mouth, didn't work real good, so I went back to white. Down here, so for the different shapes. So we have mouth AI is 1 to 21. So that's everybody on. That's all 21 of them. And mouth E is whatever it says. I broke my glasses last week and I'm running around with a spare pair and I'm not winning. 1 to 17. I was in Melbourne. The mouth is 1 and 6 to 21. So all that we looked at before, I worked out what each shape was. That's what I've done there. And then over here, you can just select the colour to be that when the mouth's active. So I've done that with each face. That's Patrick's mouth. Of course, once I've done it, it was easy mad to do the rest of them. And then in the actual program, with xLights, you introduce a timing track, and that timing track there is called lyrics. So if I wanted to do it on the top, add timing track, give it a name. So I've called it lyrics, you could call it whatever you want. And then once you've got your lyrics timing track, you can import the lyrics, which is just a text file that you've got from somewhere on the internet. I'll just go through it. You want to go through it?
When you did you take all of the lyrics in? Because I only take 4 or 5 at a time.
I took them all in.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about that.
Yeah.
And I've been told the way to beat that. Next time I'll do it. But yeah, so you import the lyrics. Interested in going through it, or you're boring people? Please, I'll start from scratch. Once I work out how to drive this stupid mouse. Okay, so we're going to add a timing track, and we're just going to call it Fred. There's Fred down the bottom. Here's the timing track. Then we're going to import the lyrics, and you just type your lyrics in. Or if you've got the lyrics somewhere else, you just cut and paste them in. If you get lyrics off the internet, you've got to be careful that they're actually correct. There's lots of strangeness out there. And the other thing that I had trouble with, until you actually listen to a song, you don't realise all the backups that's going on. So I had 4 faces, and there's lots of doo-wops and doo-ahs and everything else that the ahs and oohs that the backup singers are singing. And they're not on the internet, so you've actually got to sit there and type ooh, ah, doo-wop, and trying to listen to the song and put them in. But I brought the whole song in, so it took every word and just spread it evenly across the song. So then you had to shuffle them all to fit the song. Apparently what you do is you place timing marks in your lyric track, and then you import it, and it imports between the timing marks. That's next year's discussion.
That's what I meant,
Yeah, and it took me hours. I just determined. So what happens is, up here in the lyrics, if you can see, I've got, this is Uptown Funk, that white gold, this one, for them hood girls and so forth. So you just move those bunch of words to where they belong in the song. And then if you click on it over here, right mouse, you've got it where it says break down the phrases. You click break down phrase, and it takes the, for example there, them good girls, and puts them into individual words. You can also click on that individual phrase and break just that phrase down if you want. So you then get the words, and then you get to move the words around so they line up to where they are. And one of the magic things about xLights is they've got the Papagayo engine in here. So when you click on the word, you can break down the word. And when you break down the word, it breaks it into the FVs and the O's and the ETCs that belong to the phonemes. Somewhere somebody has sat down and worked that out, and it's got a dictionary with about 10,000 words in it. That's out there on the net somewhere.
That's the only trouble I have.
With the accent?
Some words are not in the dictionary.
Yes, some words are not in the dictionary, and when you've got oohs and ahs and doo-wops and what have you, you've got to put other words in that kind of look like it, so you get the output that you want.
There is a way to put them in the dictionary, but I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Another thing about it is you can just click on it and just type in, okay, that's an FV, that's an O, that's an ETC. But once they're there, you can edit them. And it's as easy as, it takes, the first one takes, I don't know, 40 seconds. And then from that, the next one takes half a second. Once it loads the dictionary in, it just click, click, click. It's really, really fast. Yeah, so then you've got your oohs and ahs, your doo-wops. So, there's one track called Lyrics. I've also got another track here called Backup, which are the backup singers. I don't think there's anything on it. This program you're looking at has been mucked around with a bit over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, there they are there. So there's the backup singing, whatever that, woos and woohoos and stuff over here as well. So, having done all that, and you've got your model set up for face, running in the screen. So there's Patrick. And I've got Patrick's mouth, which is that model. Can you see over here down the bottom? Yes. And it's a matter of going up, and there's a face effect. Face, what do they call them? Anyway, so you drop the element, is the word. So you drop the face on Patrick's mouth. So there's the face element. And over here, where it says mouth movements, you've got an option. You have a phoneme, got the right part. Yep, phoneme or a timing track, and the timing track says lyrics. So you put that element, just drop that element on that part, you stretch it out for the period of time you want, and you say, okay, connect that up to the timing track lyrics, and the software goes up, grabs the phonemes off there, or phonemes, and then applies that to the pixels that you determined back in the setup. There's his face going over there as an example of what he's doing. And it's as easy as that. Just click, 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 drop, and it sings. The hardest part was actually setting the face up and putting the numbers in the right boxes and working out the mouth shapes and so forth. And underneath, you'll see that I've got the purple bit there as the second layer. So when his mouth's open, it's white, and when it's not, it's purple. If you change that colour, his mouth will change colour as well. That's just a drop in on the layer below. Now the smart bit is his eyes. I'm claiming this one. So I've just used the face effect. I've dropped the face effect in on the eye model that I created. There's his eyes. And up here, instead of tying it to a timing track, I've tied it to a phoneme, which is E, which is one of those states that I created. So E is, I don't know what it is, look forward. And if I wanted to put do something else with his eyes, so I wanted to put another shape in there. This will be fun on a laptop. So I can separate those two, go up, grab a face, talk amongst yourselves. Yeah. There, I've just dropped the face in. So you click on that face, you go up here, pick a phoneme, and I'm used to sitting in front of the computer at home. I've got a 27-inch screen sitting next to a 30-inch screen, so when I come back to this, it's a little bit, makes it hard. So yeah, that's a face effect, and the mouth movement is phoneme L I've used, and then the definition is Patrick's eyes. Those are which face to use out of all those ones I've created, and I just made his eyes close, I think that was over there. That's it. I just drop the faces in, change them where they point to, and I can make them all move their eyes up and down. Same with the mouth. I use the same for the tuning sign. I just created the state for the numbers. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And there's, you can see them singing away there. I didn't put any, as I said, I've only just got the outlines. There's just the models. Bruno's got the most of the different parts of the model. Works really well because when you've got a model like the hat, I can just drop a colour onto that section of the hat and change that section instantly. I haven't got to worry about which pixels it is and which it isn't. So that's it for xLights and my faces.